What's going on, Orchard Student Ministry? All my high schoolers, welcome to week 1 of our series Vibes. This is Joe here. Super excited to hang out with y'all today. So before we dive into our message, I want to tell you guys a story. My first official job that I ever had, where I actually had a boss and I got paid like actual cash money, was at the state fair in Georgia. Now, it wasn't a very glamorous job. To be honest, my job was at what's called the hot roasted corn stand, which I know this sounds pretty amazing, but it was actually a pretty terrible job. You pretty much had two options. You were either the guy who was sitting by the burner, who was just putting in corn into this burner and then taking out the burnt corn out of it, or you're the guy who was taking burnt corn and dunking it in butter, which is delicious, but is a pretty terrible job. And my boss was the biggest jerk in the world. And he was just a jerk the whole time. Like, he smoked the whole time, he was cussing at me, he was stealing money out of the money box. Now, eventually, this is kind of bad, but I ratted on him and I told the bosses above him that, hey, this guy's been stealing from the money box, but he eventually got fired. But that was my first official job, was working the hot roasted corn stand at the county fair. I mean, that's not very glamorous. And if we're being honest, none of us really like having someone over us, and nobody really likes being controlled by anything. You don't like your boss telling you what to do. We don't even like our parents telling us what to do. But yet, all throughout our life, we're gonna have times to where we have bosses that are gonna be bossing us around and that will control what we get to do. And as much as we hate that, if we're really honest, there's something that we hate even more being in control of us that we can't even get to choose. And so many times in our life, our emotions take control and boss us around. Now, nobody likes to be bossed around. I didn't like being bossed around at the hot roasted corn stand at the county fair. You don't like being bossed around by your boss or by teachers or by coaches. But it's even worse with our emotions, because so many times in our life, our emotions come up out of nowhere and we can't even control them. And in fact, we would honestly say that our emotions are controlling us, and they're the things that are bossing us around. Have you ever had a moment like that where unexpectedly, like without notice, an emotion just completely took control of you and you really had no control over what you were even doing? I remember I was in 9th grade, so I was a freshman in high school. And this is way back in the day. I had an Xbox 360 and I loved my Xbox 360. That thing was absolutely amazing. Listen, you can't compete with me on Halo 2. It's just not gonna happen, okay? But anyways, I was playing in a match and I got my tail whooped. I mean, I had such a negative score on that game. It was terrible. And at the end of the game, I remember being so angry. Like, all of a sudden, all this anger just took control of me. I was so mad that I got up from my chair, I walked over to my window, and my room was on the 2nd floor of the house. I opened the window and I grabbed my Xbox 360 and I chucked it out the window. Okay, I mean, like frisbee style, like it was gone, okay? I had saved up for so long, but yet in that moment, all these emotions took control and took over me and made me do something that I didn't want to do. And I would bet at some point in your life, you've experienced the exact same thing. You've had an emotion, either anger or worry or anxiety or something that has just come over you, almost like a wave, just like coming and hitting you, and you had no control of it. And so what I want to do today is I want to look at an incident in the Bible where Jesus kind of helps us understand these things outside of us and these things inside of us and how they can control us and what we should really do about those things in our life. So real quick, what I want to do, if you have a Bible, we're going to be in Mark chapter 7. So that's the Gospel of Mark, and we're going to be in the 7th chapter. Mark wrote an account of Jesus. He didn't walk with Jesus physically, but he interviewed tons of people and got all of these accounts and compiled them for us in this gospel that we know as Mark. So if you can go ahead and turn, we'll be in Mark chapter 7, and we are going to start in verse number 5. It says this: So the Pharisees and the teachers of the law asked Jesus, "Why don't your disciples live according to the tradition of the elders instead of eating their food with defiled hands?" So what was happening here is Jesus and his boys, they were sitting down, they were having a meal. And back then in the Jewish culture they were in, that you didn't just like wash your hands or like throw on some Purell and like hand sanitize your hands. They had this whole like ceremonial washing of their hands to make them feel as if they were clean before their food and clean before God. It was this big freaking deal, honestly. And Jesus and his disciples, before they ate this meal, they didn't do that. And so these Pharisees and these teachers would have been comparably like modern day pastors, come and kind of confront Jesus and his boys. Well, check this out. Jesus replied, Isaiah was right when he prophesied about you hypocrites. As it is written, these people honor me with their lips, but their hearts are far from me. They worship me in vain. Their teachings are merely human rules. You have let go of the commands of God and are holding on to human traditions. So I know that's kind of weird. That kind of seems like a little bit of a random story to go with emotions and control. But here's what I want to emphasize from that. You see, the Pharisees and the teachers of the law back then for the Jewish culture, they were so obsessed with everything going on outside of them. They wanted the perfect clothes. They wanted the perfect look. They wanted to have everything in order on the outside. They wanted to be seen in a certain way in public light. And that was a big deal for them. But Jesus, he kind of flips that. He kind of flips that script, which he does all throughout the Bible. Jesus is kind of like, okay, you care about human rules and this whole outside appearance, but I'm about to tell you what's really important. Let me tell you what actually matters. And so Jesus tells them something else. A couple verses later, in Mark 7, verse 21, Jesus says this, "For it is from within, out of a person's heart, that evil thoughts come." It is from within. Jesus is saying, listen, the things in your life that will really mess you up are the things that come from within. The things that you don't get a control on, the things that you don't try and actually take into control and give to me, those are the things that will really actually mess you up. And in fact, Jesus talks about this multiple times in Scripture. In the Bible, he says this in Matthew 11:28, which is another account of Jesus' life. It says this. Jesus says, "Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest." What Jesus is saying there is, I'm the answer for the things that are going on inside you. I'm the answer for those emotions that you can't control. I'm the answer for those things inside of you that you can't seem to get a hold of. Those addictions, those things like anger, those things like worry, those things like anxiety, those things that for some reason just eat you up and just take control and you can't figure out how to get a grip on them. Jesus is telling us, listen, I'm the answer to that. I will help you with that. You bring that to me and I can help you. And in fact, there's a whole nother account. There's a Gospel of John, which is another account about Jesus' life that we have, which is an amazing book. If you've never read the Gospel of John, and you've actually never read any part of the Bible, I would challenge you to start in the Gospel of John. But check this out. In John chapter 14, in verse 27, Jesus says this. This is what he's offering us, okay? This is what I'm about to read is what Jesus is offering us. In our life, we have anger, we have anxiety, we have stress, we have all these things that tear us up, that mess us up. But Jesus is offering us something different. This is what he's offering you, and is what he offers me. Jesus says, "Peace I leave with you. My peace I give you. I do not give it to you as the world gives. Do not let your hearts be troubled, and do not be afraid." Jesus is telling us this. Listen, the world, all it's going to do is as you take it in, it's going to come out. As you take it in, it's going to come out in things of stress and anxiety and worry. All those school assignments that you're stressed about that you don't want to flunk. All those relationships and the drama that's going on and that DM that you got and how hurtful it is and all those things that you're stressed about. Listen, that as it comes out of you, you can't control that. Those emotions and that anger and just all those things that seem to get control over you. Jesus is saying, listen, give that to me. Give that to me. Let me be the one that handles that for you. Let me be the one that takes that burden. Let me be the one that helps you work through that. Invite me in. And that's the amazing thing about becoming a Christ follower is that Jesus comes and he occupies this space in you. He gives you his spirit and it's with you and it will help you through these things. It will help you as you process these emotions and these different things. That's what this whole series is about, vibes. We're going to talk about, a lot of things. And one of the things is emotions. And emotions can be so tough, especially when you have drama or stress or hurt or anxiety or anger or pain. All these things can really make us feel like everything's out of control. But with Jesus, He is the only one who can control it. Jesus is the only one who can truly take control of those things in our life. And here's the thing I want you to understand. When you have Jesus in your life, I have Jesus in my life. I've been following Jesus for several years, and things still happen in my life. I still get worried. I still get stressed. I still get upset about stuff. I had some stress just the other day, like about money and like all these things about my family and just crazy stuff, man. But here's the thing. I know at the end of the day, I can come to Jesus and say, listen, this is too hard for me. This is too much for me. I'm not strong enough to handle this, but I know you are. I don't want this to control me. I don't want this to own me. I don't want to go to bed every night thinking about this and wake up every morning thinking about it. I don't want this to just completely encompass me, all these emotions and all of these feelings that I can't control. So I want to do what Jesus tells us in those passages we read. I don't want to be worried about what the outside things about my life are. I want to be worried what's on the inside. I want to give Jesus control of that because his burden is not heavy. The things that he gives us, like what's great is he carries those things for us. He says, hey, give it to me, give it to me. And our bottom line is because of Jesus, emotions don't have to be the boss of you. Because of Jesus, emotions don't have to be the boss of you. You're gonna have plenty of bosses in your life, at work, at school, on sports teams. You're probably gonna work for somebody at some point the rest of your life. But here's the truth, emotions don't have to be the boss of us because of Jesus. So if you have something, whether it's stress or anxiety or anger or worry or some type of other emotion that's really taking control of you and you feel like it is kicking your tail, you need to give it to Jesus. And first of all, if you don't have a relationship with him, you need to invite him in. You need to make him Lord of your life because until you do that, you can't give him something that you have. Someone who's not around you can't take something from you. So you need to make Jesus Lord of your life and give him your emotions and make him the Lord of your life and say, Jesus, these things in my life, I don't want them to be the boss of me anymore. I don't want them to be my boss. I don't want them to control me. I want to give them to you. And that's what Vibes is all about.
Thank you so much for watching our Orchard Students Ministry YouTube channel. But don't stop there. Hit the subscribe and like button so you don't miss any of our content. And also share this with any of your friends and family. Follow us on Instagram and Facebook to keep up to date with upcoming message series and events. Thank you again for watching, and God bless you.